Hey guys, so today we're starting on 5.5. We are skipping 5.4 using graphs because of the ambiguity that goes along with that. While it does have some use, reading graphs, it is a little bit tedious to do so in this kind of a setting. So we are going to move on to something that is a little bit more doable in our current circumstances, which is writing function rules from a given set of xy coordinates, okay? So we already know how to graph xy coordinate points. We know what quadrants they go in because of the positives and negatives that each x and y coordinate take on. So graphing points is not a big deal. What we are doing today is kind of the converse or the backwards of that. We're going to be given a set of coordinates and we need to write the equation that results from those coordinates. So yes, we do have to graph them, but graphing them will give us an opportunity to write the equation of the graph that results from those coordinates. So the first thing we're going to do in each case here is graph the points and see after we connect those points what kind of a graph it is that we're looking at. So one at a time, we're going to graph each one of these four coordinates. -3, -5 is right here. -1, -3, 2 and 0 is right here. And 5 and 3 is right here, okay? So it appears that this is a perfectly straight line. So we will draw a perfectly straight line. Use a straight edge so you know exactly what it is that you've got, okay? Now that we know that that is a perfectly straight line, what we do now is work on filling in this equation. Y equals mx plus b. That is the equation for a straight line in slope-intercept form. Now, why that's called slope-intercept form is because we've got an m value, which is representative of the slope of the line. In other words, the rise over the run, or the pitch, or how steep it is. And then we've also got the b value, which is the y-intercept. Okay? So once we have that straight line graphed on the xy coordinate plane, all we have to do is look at the line, determine the slope from point to point, and the y-intercept. The y-intercept is always the easiest point to determine. The y-intercept is where the graph goes through the y-axis. And in our case right there, it is -2. So our b value is -2. So wherever the graph goes through the y-axis is your b value. Okay? Now the next thing to do is to determine the slope from point to point. Slope is defined as rise over run. Okay? Now, rise is normally something you think of to be going up, but actually rise here could also be going down. Okay? So rise is simply representative of the y dimension of the axis, which is up and down, over the run, which is the x dimension, which is side to side. Okay, so what we're going to do after we graph these points is pick 2 points. So I'm going to pick this point right here that I graphed and this point right here that I graphed. And I'm going to see how many units do I go up until I'm even from one point to the next. In other words, I'm going to start at the lower point here, left to right. Okay, you read a graph the same way you read a book, from left to right. So from my starting point, I go up 1, 2, 3. Now I'm even with the next point in line. Okay, so my rise was up 3. Up is positive, down is negative. So we went up 3 and then over 1, 2, 3. So the rise is up 3 and the run is right 3. So if I put that into my rise over run formula, I get positive 3 over 3 is equal to 1. That means that the slope of that line is 1. So my m value will go into my formula as a 1, while my b value will go into the formula as a negative 2. So in y equals mx plus b, the m is replaced with what we found for the slope to be, and the b is replaced for what we found the slope to be. So our equation would be y equals, the m value is 1, x, don't forget the x, plus a negative 2, which if you simplified, y equals 1x minus 2. And that is the equation that results from plotting those xy coordinate points. Let's do another one, okay? Here again, we've got xy coordinate points. We'll plot those points, connect the dots, and see what we've got. So 2, 8 is right here, up at the top, which I can't get it to move it down a little bit. There we go. Okay, so 2, 8. Okay, 2, 8. I had to move the whole thing down. So 2, 4, 6, 8. I started at the origin, went over 2 to the right and up 8, and that is the coordinate. Now 1, 4 is the next coordinate, which is right there. Then I've got the next one at 0, 0, and it looks like a repeat. Not necessary. Okay, so now that we've got these points, we're going to connect them in what appears to be, rightfully so, a straight line. Okay, now that we see that this is a straight line, we can then make the determination that we are filling in the equation for the straight line, y equals mx plus b. B is where the graph goes through the y-axis, which is right here at the origin, 0. So b is equal to 0. Okay? Now we're going to go from one point, from left to right, to the other point. We're going to start here. Okay? So obviously, to get from that point to the next one, we have to go up. Okay, so let's count how many. We will go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So far, our rise is up 4. Okay, then we have to determine how far do we go over to actually get to the point, which is just 1 to the right. So the run is right 1. So our slope, rise over run, 4 over 1, is a positive 4. So now that we have the m value and the b value, we can fill those into our y equals mx plus b equation. So y equals m is 4, b is 0. So simplifying that would be 4x. To leave it as 4x plus 0 is not incorrect, okay? If it was left like that, it's still the same thing as just y equals 4x. Okay, let's do another one. Plotting the points, connecting the dots, and then reading those dots. So -3, -4, then -1, -2, 0, -1, 1, 0, and 3, 2. So again, we have a straight line. So our equation, it's a linear function, straight line. The y-intercept, first thing that we'll determine is right there at -1. So b is -1. And then to go from, let's say this red point right here to the green point. So we'll start at the red one because that's left of the green one, and we'll go up and over and count those units. So we'll go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my rise was up 6, and then we'll go to the right, which is also positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So rise over run is 6 over 6, both positive. So the m value is equal to 1. Okay, so our equation, y equals 1x minus 1. Easy stuff, right? One more, and then we'll move on to reading graphs. Okay, looking at the points already graphed, and then writing the equation from that, which is exactly what we're doing right now. We're looking at a table of coordinates, graphing them so we can look at the graph and figure out what the function rule is. In other words, the equation for what results from plotting the points. So 0, 1, 2, 5, right here. 3, 7 is right there. And 4, 9, which is all the way at the very top. Okay, so we'll connect the dots. Okay, and determine the y-intercept right there, positive 1. So b is equal to 1. Now we'll go from one dot to the next. So I'll make that dot pink. So we'll go from the pink dot to the bright yellow dot right here, which is hopefully not too difficult to see. Let's make it a different color. Okay, so we'll go from the pink dot because that's left of the greenish yellowish dot. Okay, so start here and go from left to right. This dot, the pink one, is left of the yellow green one. Okay, so start at the pink one and head towards the yellow green one. So we have to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So we went up 4 and then 1, 2 to the right. So rise over run gives us a slope, an m value of 2. Our equation would then be y equals 2x plus 1. Now, it appears that I do not have any negative slopes here. So we are going to redo this one because all of the slopes up to now have all been positive, which is a little bit disturbing to me. So let's just do, I'm going to connect these dots. And we'll figure out the equation of that line. So we're going to kind of start this whole graphing thing one concept earlier. Okay, so there is our graph. Okay, so far we've done no negatives at all. So we need to determine what the y-intercept is. Okay, so the y-intercept is right there. Okay, at -1. Okay, so the b value is -1. Okay. Then we'll go from point to point, reading left to right. So the point up here is to the left of the one down here. So we'll start at this point up here to determine what our slope is. Okay? So we'll start at that upper point, and in order to get from that point to the other one, we have to go down this time. We have to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units. We went down 8. Now we need to go across 1, 2, 3. So because we went to the right 3, that is a positive 3. So rise over run now is -8/3. So that's our slope, our m value. The equation then that results from that being a straight line is y equals mx plus b, okay, where m is -8/3, don't forget the x, -1. Okay, so now we're into obviously reading graphs. No xy coordinates. So all we're going to do is point out or pick out 2 places on that graph where the line goes right through where the squares meet in a diagonal. In other words, one of those is, let's say, right here, okay? The line goes right through where the corners of the grid meet. And another place, say, right there, okay? So those are the points now that we're going to use to determine the slope. The y-intercept is right there. That's where the graph goes through the y-axis at a b value of 0. Now we'll read the graph and find our slope, okay? So we're going to start with that point on the left, and in order to get from that point to the other point, we have to go down and over. So we will go down 1, 2, 3, which is -3, because down is negative. Then we will go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the right. Okay, so in our rise over run, our rise is a -3 and our run is a 6. Well, -3/6 can be reduced down to -1/2. So that is our m value. And the equation that results from that b and m value, being that it's a straight line, is y equals -1/2 x plus 0. Okay, let's do another one. Pick out first 2 points on the graph. So I'm going to pick out this one right here and this one all the way down here. Okay, those are the 2 points where the line goes right through where the corners of our grids meet. And then pick out the y-intercept. Okay, so the y-intercept is our b value. Okay, so b equals 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then we'll go from red dot to red dot. Left to right means that we start there and work our way to the second one, which is to the right of the first dot. So we'll start at the lower dot, and we have to count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up, 9. And then from there, we will go over 1, 2, 3 to the right. So right 3 is a plus 3. So rise over run would be 9 over 3, which gives us a slope of 3. So our equation, y equals 3x plus 3. Okay? Doing another one. Picking out our coordinates, we'll pick one right there. That's where the graph goes through. And this one right here. Okay? Now, the y-intercept is a positive 1/2. Okay, now we'll go from the left dot to the right dot, meaning we're going to start right here and then work our way over to this one, meaning we have to go up and to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up, and 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. So our m value is 6 over 4, which is 3 over 2. Okay, so our equation then is y equals 3 over 2 x, don't forget the x, plus 1/2. Okay, and apparently that's it. Okay, so I imagine you guys are pretty well informed on exactly what's going on here as far as figuring out our function rules. So what I would like you to do is numbers 8 through 24 evens. Okay, don't forget, graph the points if you're given a table, pick out the b value, go from point to point, find your slope, and write your equation y equals mx plus b. You guys got this. See ya.